is convinced that you have to have the latest and greatest and that you have to move on every other year to the next, whatever the next thing is, right? If you're using a system, it's like anything else. It's like if you continually swap out your car every year, right? You are never going to pay your car off. Right. You're never going to realize the full benefit of, not having a car payment and not, whatever the thing is that you're doing. Same thing with technology. If you're constantly reiterating on technology, now there's something to be said about like not falling behind, right? Yep. And you need to monitor that, but you've got to be able to do it in a way that, to your point, your team can at least get comfortable with it and function on it for the span of 2-3 years, right? Yeah. Before you have to jump into whatever the next thing is and constantly, reiterate and those kind of things. Because I feel like we all have this technology fatigue of, to your point, like having to learn a new system every so often. Yeah. Right. It's exhausting. You can't focus on your actual core business and the thing that actually drives your revenue. Right. So the more that you can like spend time in a system, and we talk about a lot of this sometimes, like is the pre-requirements and going through like identifying what the base level requirement is for the project that you're doing and the technology that you're implementing. Right. Yep. Figuring out what those requirements are and like designing a system that both meets those requirements, but then that also gives you the capability to flex and expand in the future. Right. So you outgrow it within a year. Yeah, we've started talking a lot about building in flexibility, right, in a lot of different areas of the organization, right? So for us, a lot of times, like we'll get on site and you'll pull a ceiling tile and you're getting ready to install a speaker or run some cable or something else. And then you realize, there's an AC duct running across, half of the space. Well, if you've tried to calculate everything down to like the perfect foot, the perfect number of bolts and nuts and screws and those kind of things, you're always going to get to a place where something just doesn't quite work right. Right. And you've got to make an adjustment or you've got to, make a different decision on the fly or, some of those kind of things. And if you don't have some of that flexibility built into both your systems, your process, how you're estimating, how you're selling, if you don't build that flexibility in, it's going to break something in the system. Right. Like things that are highly engineered to work that have very, very low tolerances, right? Yeah. The minute that something goes astray, it's, you're breaking that thing, whether it's an engine or something else. Same thing I feel like with business. A lot of us create these systems that in a perfect world work perfectly. Yeah. But we don't live in a perfect world. Right. And things seldom go perfectly the way that you think they're going to. 100%. Right? So trying to figure out kind of how to build some of that flexibility into the system, I think it saves us a lot of time and a lot of effort. Yeah. So, and then building a culture that, actually that will appreciates. Yeah, that will adopt it. Right. Yep. Because like in their case, they realize like, hey, I've been out to 6 different jobs and none of them have all gone perfectly, but we've been able to pivot when we needed to get the job done, still deliver on time, still do the things that we needed to do. And we've seen a lot of benefit from that. Right. Having that conversation. Especially if you can explain the why. Yeah. Like explain Absolutely. The why, show real world examples, have them feel it, right? See it out in the field. Yeah. Whether, you're a CEO of a tech company or whatever you do, that's so important. I think change is super important. Explaining the why, especially to high C's. Yeah. They need to know the why. You can't just change things for the sake of it, right? You've got to understand like the difference in the variation and why you're actually doing something different. Yep. And why you're having to pivot or, make those changes. It's we run into it all the time. You've got systems that you think are going to work perfectly and you go to start the install and there's like 1 or 2 things that throw a wrench in it and you have to be able to, pivot in a different direction. You have to have captured enough on the front end so that you're not constantly going back to the client and doing a change order. Yeah, and that's the worst case scenario. And that's what you don't want to do, right? You don't want to have to constantly go back and be like, well, it's going to cost more money to especially if it's your fault. And not theirs. Exactly. I know there's things like from a business standpoint that like I feel like if you can engineer in some of that flexibility, then you can make those things work. Right. You can get it to a place where like if you need to pivot, you've already got that calculated in your, overall thought process, and it saves them time and money as well. Like at the end of the day, right? Like you're not, I understand. I appreciate the point of being as exact as possible, but I think what everybody misses in that is everything doesn't always work perfectly the way that you think it's going to. Yeah. In any implementation or. I think it also leaves room for you to wow
your client.
Absolutely.
Because,
absolutely,
if you don't leave room for that, there's no opportunity to do that. But if you do, you always can go above and beyond for the client and leave, because it's all about like feeling.
Yeah.
Like, how does the client leave that engagement feeling?
Do they feel the value of what you did? Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. It's been a very interesting thing for us to walk through some projects like that and kind of figure out, okay, we've very, very much managed the expectation, but at the same time, we've gone through and delivered more, than what they were expecting. And we were able to do that because of how we planned that.
What a great feeling for the team.
Yeah, for the team and for the end client.
Well, for the client for sure too, but I think the team really feels good about it. Feels good about the work they're doing.
When you can walk off of a project and you've been able to deliver exactly what you were supposed to, plus more. Yep. People generally walk away from those projects really excited.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Which is it's cool to watch that. It's cool to see that and like go out on site with the teams and just run through a conference room or run through a really complex system or whatever you're doing, and like when they walk away from it, they're extremely proud of what they delivered, right?
Yeah.
Because it looks good, it works, it does what it's supposed to do, all those things. It's very, I mean, I think that the delivery piece, we were talking about that at lunch, I think the delivery is stuff that often gets overlooked because everybody, like once you learn kind of the process for selling, you can sell anybody anything.
Right.
Right. But on the backside of it, the delivery is paramount. It's the thing that if I've built your expectations up to tell you, this is the best bottle of water, it's going to taste the best, and like whatever, and like I've built your expectations up to expect this thing to be just life changing or whatever the deal is, right? And then when like you drink it and it's not, you're like, oh well, this is not what I wanted. This is not what you sold me. This is not what That's how you get into that whole culture of you're just selling the next thing, right? It's selling the one client for the one project that you'll get, and then you're going to move on, and you're not going to be able to come back to that client until that person leaves, and you're selling to a new person. Right?
That's right.
So it's that mentality of creating. If you want to create a client for life, the way to do that is to make sure that you make delivery paramount. Because if you continually deliver, like if I tell you this water is really great, it's refreshing, it's good to drink, it's whatever, right? I've set a reasonable expectation with you, and when you actually drink it, like you're like, oh yes, this is great. But and you feel like like what you mentioned earlier, the feeling of that, and you understand the value of it. You got what you were promised, like all of those things, right? Now you've become like, hey, I want to buy a water every day, right?
Yep. And I'll tell all my friends, they should buy your water.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's that same thought process. So it's been really interesting to see that across, multiple different size projects, whether it's a really small mounting a display or, installing a stadium audio system, like those, the scales kind of run the same way. As long as you are constantly, making sure that you deliver, I think it's the main key thing there.